Welcome back to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. So we know that salespeople, God love them, they live in a world where customers are increasingly reliant on digital communication tools, protective of their time and attention, and hard to reach by voice. And that is certainly true even pre-pandemic, but now it is true more than ever. That's why I'm joined by the co-author of 21st Century Prospecting, the authoritative playbook for new business development. And that's Mark McGraw. Mark, welcome to the program.
Well, so good to be here. Thank you.
What a timely and important topic as we prepare for Q2 of what I'm still calling a new year. Nobody can shake that from me. It's still a new year in my book, but certainly, again, very, very timely that we have this conversation. It's something that we talk about frequently on Get Down to Business. I love to get to know the person behind the microphone. Mark, tell me about yourself. And I know, of course, you and your incredible team over at Sandler are doing awesome things, but all your experiences have led to writing this fantastic read.
Yeah, so I am a corporate America refugee. So came out of corporate America and really kind of fell in love with the Sandler process and our methodology of coaching and training salespeople. Being a customer of the product 16 years ago, and decided to strike out on my own and start my own business of coaching and training. So it's been a wonderful journey.
Oh, glad you did indeed. You have an interesting background and you've been helping, as you just said, salespeople and sales leaders achieve their very best through sales training, coaching, and you're certainly a SME, a subject matter expert on the sales process. And I know you're passionate about it because just prior to recording, I know you were just having another conversation. So there are several things in the book that I want to cover, and I don't want to give away all the secrets, but you have a really interesting acronym, FUDWACA.
Yes.
And I find that acronym, I've been reading this over and over and over again. And we'll talk about that acronym, but also importantly, the do this. And I love that. You have that in the book. It's sort of a homework assignment. So we're gonna talk about some action items that everybody can do to hopefully change their 21st century prospecting. So, Mark, tell us about that acronym and where it came from.
Yeah, so the acronym is FUDWACA and FUDWACA. And the idea behind it is this, is that very often when we're selling, we're focused on like what we do and how we do it. And where we tend to get a lot more traction in conversations with people is when we focus on whatever their issue or their pain is. And the FUDWAC is actually an acronym for the kinds of things that people say in casual conversation that are indicators of potential problems. They say things like F, they're frustrated about something. They're upset, or they're D, disappointed in their results in a particular area. They're worried, concerned, or anxious. So FUDWACA are indicators of potential problems by which we as professional sellers and consultative sellers should be digging into these things and understanding what their impacts are to the customer, the prospect, and staying away as long as we can from like what we do and how we do it. There's probably 20 other ways to go use it, but that's what that acronym stands for. And I do love it too.
It's awesome. It's fantastic. So again, we're living in strange times. We're living in strange times, and certainly business owners are, often working from from their dining room table, or they're a different environment than before. And frankly, this was a transition that was taking place even pre-pandemic. We're living in a increasingly global world where there's often everybody overscheduled, hyper focused on what they're doing. Everybody's moving faster with less time for distractions than ever. So again, what is that basic premise of 21st century prospecting that you're tackling that you haven't seen perhaps in other playbooks that have been written in the past?
One of the big things that we've seen over the last couple of years is that in some respects, it's been more difficult to reach the right people that you want to reach. In some respects, it's actually easier, but in no small order, the amount of emails that are being sent has gone up. The amount of response rates generally have gone down. Data shows you those types of things. And so in order to be able to break through and have meaningful conversations with people, we have to take a different approach in the environment that we're in. And like for example, one of the things that we need to do is hyper personalize every message that we send to someone. We see a lot of people that are in professional sales where they try to craft one message or one email and kind of blast it out over and over. And while you might be able to do that to some degree, when you hyper personalize the message, and we can talk a little bit about that, you tend to get higher response rates and break through the noise and the clutter of what's going on.
Oh, and I do want to talk about that because certainly I've been the recipient of those messages, and frankly, I'll be honest with all of our listeners that I've made those mistakes of being busy and trying to think of the shortcuts. But the reality is in order to tie into those emotions, the reality is that you've got to work harder and think in the lens of the recipient of whether it's that phone call, that email, that communication that you're going to send out, and be very intentional about everything that you're doing. And again, I'm chatting with the expert on this topic, the co-author of 21st Century Prospecting, the authoritative playbook for new business development. And Mark, I know you wrote this book with a colleague. I want to give him a shout out as well.
Absolutely. A great friend of mine and really a visionary guy, John Rosso, who is a fellow Sandler owner as well.
Absolutely. And I know John has also written Prospect the Sandler Way. So I do want to talk a little bit more about that personalized messaging, but we've got to squeeze in a very quick break here on the show all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship. So don't touch that dial because we're going to continue our conversation about 21st century prospecting when we return in just a moment. Go to my website, shalomklein.com. Download more podcasts. We'll be right back. Hey, we're back on Get Down to Business. You can go to my website, shalomklein.com, to download podcasts from the past 8+ years of shows. And of course, we are live every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on AM 560, The Answer in Chicago. But I've been chatting with the co-author of 21st Century Prospecting, having a fascinating discussion with Mark McGraw, who together with John Rosso has literally written the playbook on what you need to do in order to master the world of new business development. And I know, Mark, both you and John have gone the Sandler way and spend your days and probably your nights too helping people with sales training. And you really give a lot of tips in this book, which is a must read for anybody who's in business in the world of entrepreneurship and want to understand the FUDWACA. But we covered that just a few minutes ago. I don't want to go over that again. But Mark, you honestly piqued my interest when you talked about how you need to take the time to personalize communication. Mark, I want to start this topic by asking you, what's the worst example that you've seen of somebody that, where it doesn't go right and the consequences of it?
Yeah, you see a lot of examples. I mean, I think if we're in business, we're being prospected by somebody almost at any given time. And if you look at the messages that you're being sent, I think we learn a lot by looking at what works and doesn't work when people are approaching us. And what you tend to see are the exact same message over and over and over. And a lot of times I think that's either mass email marketing systems going to work, or it's people that are just not very creative in their approach. And one of the things that we found that works well is and this is particularly true in the business to business arena, and where you're calling on somebody and you want to reach a particular person. And so in this approach is to hyper personalize the message. And what that means is like, for example, if it's an email, the subject line should not be able to be created by any automated email marketing system or database pull. So if you can find something about, so let's say something that someone tweeted about, or maybe they gave a presentation at some place and you found that on the internet, and you can reference that in the subject line and in your message that you're reaching out to somebody, you're going to have a much higher probability of getting a response rate back. That's just one little thought around that.
Well, that's powerful stuff. Absolutely. So being current, actually taking the time to research the people that you're talking to and hoping to get business from, what a revolutionary concept. But
I
certainly
know.
putting that time in is key. And again, I'm chatting with the author of 21st Century Prospecting. And I know in the book you provide templates for constructing an effective 30-second commercial to get prospects to engage emotionally. And that's really important. People hear pain statements and maybe they cringe, but I know the you and your co-author John Rosso view it as a positive thing. So we're just about out of time, Mark. And your book is a great read, and I want everybody to pick it up, and I want everybody to get in touch with you. Mark, how can people learn more, and perhaps most importantly, pick up a copy of this book?
Sure. It is available on our website, salesengine.sandler.com. And then folks can reach out to us out at that site, as well as also available on Amazon for Kindle as well. So happy to work with folks and share with them ideas. And we put a lot of time into it and try to make it very applicable for someone to be able to actually work on a playbook live real time as they're going through the book.
Okay, and in 15 seconds or less, what is that one piece that you want everybody to put into practice this week?
If you said, okay, here's one, I'd say, hey, go, if you're going to prospect and you're going to work on building your business, go build out a cadence of a sequence of conversations and make that cadence involve multiple channels or methods by which you reach out to somebody. So not just email, not just phone, but maybe through LinkedIn, through video, through tweets, through message. Find a cadence because people communicate differently, and find whatever it is that they're going to respond back through.
I love it. Great tips from Mark McGraw, 21st Century Prospecting. That's a wrap for us here on Get Down to Business. I'll be back next Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on AM 560 The Answer. Go to my website, shalomklein.com. To success. Let's get down to business.